Hey there folks, and welcome back to the Tower Tech. With the release of the GTX 1080 just a nose over 2 years ago and absolutely no sign at GTC back in March of the 1180 or what was previously speculated to be the 2080, there is rumours amidst on the internet, largely driven from WCC Tech, about what are speculated to be leaked specifications of the 1180. Now, of course, take these with a massive grain of salt, but it's great to pontificate and speculate whether these specifications are actually correct. And looking through them, it looks like a fairly sizable step up in performance. Of course, we need to remember that this is going to be sat on the new Turing architecture. It's very difficult to speculate what that's actually going to mean, so we're pretty much going to read through these specs, try and do a bit of compare and contrast as best as we can. So this is going to run on the same kind of FinFET process that we saw in the 10 series graphics cards, albeit we're going to see a reduction in the size down to 12 nanometers. That is going to mean a pretty significant increase in the die size, coming in at an absolute colossus 400mm squared. That's a huge GPU. Most interestingly, we're going to see a CUDA core increase up to 3,584 relative to the 2,560 of the 1080. Now, CUDA cores is a pretty reasonable estimate of GPU performance. For context and for further comparison and contrast, the GTX 980, the predecessor to the 1080, clocked in a CUDA core count of 2,048. So from a percentage increase perspective, we are seeing significant step on with the 1180. We're also seeing core clocks broadly in the same region. Not sure that those specifications are particularly meaningful because we don't know that much about the Turing architecture, but for completeness, we're seeing a base core clock estimated to be somewhere in the region of 1600 megahertz with a boost clock around the 1800 megahertz, which is a smidge higher than we were seeing in the 1080, but again, pure clock for clock comparison, I'm not sure is a massively helpful frame of reference. Of course, teraflops comparison is helpful, so we're looking at something like 13 teraflops versus the 8.7 that we were seeing on the 1080, and we are also seeing an uplift on the memory, so seeing increased memory speeds, anticipated to be somewhere around the 16 gigabits per second, and an increased memory bandwidth of around 512 gigabytes per second relative to the 320 that we were seeing in the 1080. Anticipating a TDP from anywhere between 170 to 200 watts. It would be fantastic to see that more around this 170 watt mark as a water cooler, dissipating heat, and having a lower overall TDP is normally a good indicator of significant overclocking headroom, so that would be great to see as well. Anticipating a Q3 summer release, so somewhere around July 2018, and looking at an MSRP of around $699, which is benches pretty flat in comparison to the Founders Edition release of the 1080 just over 2 years ago. I think that was March 2 years ago the 1080 came out. So it's very difficult to say with any kind of certainty whether these specifications are accurate. They're probably not a million miles out of the ballpark, but as I said at the beginning of this video, take it with a grain of salt. The 1080s that I've got in the water-cooled beast over my left shoulder have definitely done more than they're due, and you know, it would be great to see the latest lineup from NVIDIA coming out. I'm gonna, a bit of a call out, I think, to AMD is that it would be fantastic really to see better competition from the Radeon lineup. Previous rumours in the marketplace have been that NVIDIA really have had this architecture on the shelf ready to go for some time, really have had very little impetus to drive out that new range of graphics cards with little competition, and with the mining craze artificially inflating GPU prices, and there being significant shortages in terms of yields of memory driving increased prices and shortages of the cards themselves. It has been very disappointing that we've not seen the latest lineup, you know, and notwithstanding what will almost certainly be fantastic performance improvement, hopefully there will be a significant improvement in the availability of these cards as well, and it really would be great to see e-tailers and retailers actually selling these things at the price that the manufacturer intended them to be. So a big thank you to WCC Tech for that information. I'm sure it's going to evolve over a bit over time. Link to their webpage down in the description. Probably worth checking back in there from time to time to see if that information has been updated. Do take this with a grain of salt, but a great speculation, and I genuinely hope to see those graphics cards out soon. So there we go, guys. Just a very quick floaty head video. Please like and share it if you enjoyed it. Consider subscribing if you're not. I hope you're really, really well wherever in the world you are, and I will see you in my next one.